Tonight, a CBC investigation unveils activists are targeting what they call the radical left in Regina's civic election. Also, wildfire smoke lowers air quality in Saskatchewan. We look at ways to keep safe. Plus, the campaign is underway for U.S. presidential hopeful Kamala Harris.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, July 22nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. CBC has confirmed that 3 men with significant ties to the federal Conservative Party and the province's Saskatchewan Party are behind a secretive organization that says it is targeting the radical left in Regina's upcoming municipal election. Since 2021, the anonymous group Advance Regina has been running thousands of dollars worth of advertising on social media and billboard campaigns. It says it's a grassroots organization, but refuses to say who runs or funds the work it does. Jeff Leo decided to push for answers.
For months now, Advance Regina has been advertising on Facebook and getting a lot of traction, complaining about city services, complaining about high crime, high taxes, and targeting some city councillors that it characterizes as left-wing activists. And it says it exists in order to recruit and train new councillors and then support them in the upcoming election so that they can make a significant change in Regina's city council. So we wondered, who's behind this organization? And that's difficult to find out. There's no names on the website of people that are behind this organization, so we had to do a bit of digging. So what I did was I made a donation to the Advance Regina website in hopes I might learn something more about this organization, and I did. The receipt from my $5 donation said that the organization behind Advance Regina was something called Canadians for Livable Cities. I did a corporation search and found that there were 3 men behind this organization, all men from Regina who have significant connections to the Saskatchewan Party and or the Conservative Party of Canada. They're Trent Fraser, Dean Klippenstein, and Bruce Evans. I did reach out to all 3 men, but none of them responded to my emails. So I wrote an email to Advance Regina to ask why the anonymity, and I got a response from someone anonymously from the organization who said this is just like the media, to be all focused on who's behind an organization rather than talking about the issues that they're concerned about. So it turns out third-party organizations are really not well regulated at this point in time, especially when it comes to municipal politics. They don't have to register with anyone, and they don't have to declare where they're getting their donations from. But an expert in municipal politics says that's starting to change as more and more of these sorts of organizations are popping up around the country. Jeff Leo, CBC News, Regina.
As a heat wave extends into its 4th week in Western Canada, crews are bracing for spreading wildfires. Thick smoke from existing fires is already causing health concerns in British Columbia and Alberta. 2 areas in BC's Cariboo region are under evacuation orders because of a massive fire in Antler Creek. Crews are scrambling to save Barkerville, a historic gold rush town.
We've been working with the Barkerville team, putting up sprinklers and tying into the 9 existing fire hydrants.
Fire crews have withdrawn from the Shetland Creek fire in BC's southern interior because of the risk they may get trapped there. That fire is burning in areas near the Trans-Canada Highway. More than a dozen buildings have already been destroyed in that region. The smoke from these fires in BC and Alberta is making our sky really hazy. Experts are telling people to avoid strenuous outdoor activity, and if you have any breathing issues, avoid being outside altogether. Jason Warwick has more.
The muggy's okay, but the smoke sucks. It makes it kind of hard to breathe.
Residents in most parts of Saskatchewan woke up Monday morning to continued thick wildfire smoke and heat.
It's absolutely horrible. It's difficult to breathe, difficult to sleep. And with the heat and humidity, it just really is an irritant.
Environment Canada's Air Quality Health Index sat at 10 plus on Monday for Saskatoon, Regina, Prince Albert, and other centres. Temperatures have also hovered in the low 30s in many areas. According to the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency, 100 forest fires are currently burning in the province. And there have been more than 400 fires so far this year. That's well above the 5-year average of 274.
And what we're seeing is really smoke that's sort of drifting in from sort of the areas McMurray over towards Lesser Slave Lake in Alberta, drifting down and sort of augmenting the smoke that's being produced up in the Losh area down into our area at this point in time.
One respiratory educator says it's important for people to take precautions when air quality is bad.
People living with lung disease, we need to make sure that they have their medications in place and they have them readily available. So make sure prescriptions are up to date. Know what to do when your symptoms worsen, because certainly wildfire smoke is a common trigger for those living with asthma and those living with COPD.
She says anyone vulnerable should be aware of warning signs in case they do require medical assistance.
So if they're having shortness of breath to the point where it's hard to talk, if they're having chest pain, if they're having something like sunken in skin and around the breastbone, if they're feeling really lethargic or confused, they need to seek help right away. Those are signs of a medical emergency.
The smoke across much of Saskatchewan is expected to linger throughout Monday and into Tuesday, but then begin to clear. As for these high temperatures, residents should expect temperatures in the 30 degrees Celsius or above for the next several days. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And of course, Ethan will have more on your weather coming up in a few minutes. But first, Saskatoon's housing market could look a lot different very soon. City Council recently passed sweeping changes to the city's zoning bylaws, paving the way for more density. Batoche Jael explores how and if it will actually happen.
It's not a right, it's more like a privilege to have a place.
Farah Ledoux has been homeless since March. This mother of 3 says she's priced out of the market. With disability and child welfare benefits, she almost gets $1,600 a month. All of it goes to rent.
Every single month, it was always, okay, do I short the rent $100 so I can buy food for my daughter, basically, just for her to eat. You know, if I didn't eat, that was fine.
Sleeping on her mum's couch, Ledoux gets up every day at 7 a.m. to apply for rentals.
I can't even find anything. It just, there's no places.
There is an extreme lack of affordable housing in the city across the board. There's a lot of organizations.
At Quinn Development Corporation, there is a huge demand for the 94 affordable units, but they are at less than 1% vacancy rate.
We had 1,163 applications for housing last year. We only had 18 available units throughout the whole year to fill. So there is quite a disconnect in terms of the need versus the supply.
Saskatoon City Council knows it's a problem. So after much debate, it passed sweeping changes to its zoning bylaws. That means a house like this could be torn down and a fourplex of some kind can go in its place. It's all part of Ottawa's Housing Accelerator Fund to boost housing affordability.
We only have inventory available for 1.5 months until we have nothing left to sell or to purchase.
Chris Garrett with the Saskatchewan Realtors Association says the fund will boost housing supply.
HAF, the money, the dollars, will be spent directly trying to generate inventory on the part of the continuum that we need it, right? So affordable units, units that are affordable not just for ownership but for rent, removing some red tape.
But developers say to achieve that, the city needs to drop some red tape.
In order for us to get that condensity, the city needs to remove a lot of other red tape that they've put in place. And one of them is that the ratio with the parking restrictions. That's the biggest hurdle.
Until construction begins, it's cold comfort for people like Ledoux who are waiting to get into an affordable house now.
Well, I know quite a few people that have had a place and families, and just because of housing, their families are separated.
Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
New additions have been unveiled to the residential school memorial in Regina. The memorial at Government House now includes interpretive panels and metal silhouettes of children. Guests at the ceremony today included community members and residential school survivors. The survivors say the monument is welcomed and needed to continue healing.
It's actually, I was just telling my wife, it's a great thing to see. You know, we need more visuals. I always tell people visuals. We hear stories, a lot of stories, but the more visuals we have, I think that's a better piece, especially for Canada and in Saskatchewan. Now, we still remember we were children at one time, but now we need to see that the visual of having those children silhouette is an awakening call for everybody, and myself too. My daughter was attending with us today. So it kind of woke me up and I said, look, baby, that's where Daddy was at one time.
Government House also opened 2 new traveling exhibits meant to educate visitors about residential schools and their impacts on survivors. The Residential School Memorial was created in 2022 as part of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action. The construction situation on Regina's Ring Road will get a little more congested for the next week and a half or so. The City of Regina is making progress on the installation of the water main as part of the Water Network Expansion Project. So it's closing the Ring Road eastbound on-ramp at McDonald Street for the next 10 days, longer if the weather doesn't cooperate. The major project is helping the city continue to meet water pressure and storage needs while also considering long-term growth. While they're at it, the city's also planting more trees and upgrading lights along portions of the Ring Road. Smoky skies didn't stop the Saskatchewan Roughriders from getting back to practice today, but it did push the team indoors. The Riders are coming off a 19-9 victory over their arch rival Winnipeg. The game ended with Bombers linebacker Adam Bighill pile-driving Riders quarterback Shea Patterson into the turf, a move that almost turned into a bench-clearing brawl. Kean Schaefer-Baker left injured in the second half, and rookie receiver Ajo stepped in for the slot back and had a big game. Kickers accounted for all the points except for a single touchdown in the third quarter by Clint Ratkovich, his first in the CFL.
Once I spiked it, that was the last time I saw the ball. So I heard you have to pay a little extra fee now with the chip in the ball anyways. So, you know, this spike was worth it. It's awesome. You know, I got the guys in the room especially. They're just excited for me. Guys in the team, just all around excited, and awesome to get a fullback in the end zone there.
A lot of praise for sure. Teammates coming up to me, telling me, hey, keep playing the way you're playing and whatnot. You know, coaches as well. So, you know, it's good. Yeah, I like it, yeah.
The 5-1 Riders have a short turnaround, preparing for a Thursday night game in Montreal. The Alouettes are the reigning Grey Cup champs, and the team's coming off a bye week. However, they could be without injured quarterback Cody Fajardo. Kickoff Thursday is at 5:30 local time. Well, whether you're under an air quality advisory or living in the area with a special air quality statement, it is definitely smoky out there. The combination of the heat and the smoke is making things real uncomfortable outside for a lot of people. Ethan will have a look at what's to come in terms of smoke, and would not some rain be nice? He has your forecast after the break. Stay with us. The Seine River, which runs through the heart of Paris, will play a starring role in this year's Olympic Games, both during the opening ceremony on Friday and at some of the sporting events. Adrian Arsenault has a look now at the preparations in and along the famous river.
To be on the Seine at any time is special, but this ride on this boat with this captain along this route, this is precisely the plan for the athletes' parade leading to the opening ceremony. It's hard to imagine anything more ambitious. 10,500 athletes traveling 6 kilometers along the Seine, westward through central Paris, right to the Eiffel Tower. Potentially 300,000 people watching from shore. It's a huge idea. The artist's rendition of what it will look like suggests it will be a spectacular spectacle, sailing past so many landmarks, so many venues for the Olympics. The Seine is the main artery for the whole Games, but imagine the headache of this if you're in charge of security. All of the buildings and windows and balconies and rooftops and bridges and parks accessing the river. How do you keep everyone safe? Now, plans have been scaled back to limit public access, and security officials say they feel ready, but just in case there is a plan B at a stadium, and ultimately it will be the French president who decides whether this can go ahead. Something else is unclear about the role of this murky river. Will it actually be okay to swim in? The imagery is ideal, but the water might not be. It's actually been illegal to swim in the Seine for about 100 years because of concerns about pollution. But France has poured a fortune into trying to make it clean. Unfortunately, every time there's a heavy rain, sewage pours into it. So will it be safe enough, clean enough for the athletes? The Seine has an outsized romantic place in the heart of the city, so it's only fitting it has a huge place at the heart of the Olympics. That is the perfect narrative, but this is an imperfect river in an imperfect era, so we'll just have to see and hope the ride is as smooth as this one.
Adrian Arsenault will co-host the National from Paris this week. CBC live coverage of the opening ceremony of the Olympics begins Friday at 11 a.m. local time.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac, proud partner of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. They're worried about clean water in Paris. We're worried about clean air.
Yeah, and there have been many statements in place throughout the day, air quality advisories, air quality statements. But we can't forget that we actually still also have a heat warning in place for the southwest corner of the province and actually extending into portions of west central Saskatchewan as well. And if we zoom in a bit here to places like Swift Current and the Kindersley area, it's a double advisory for you because you're dealing with the heat and also the air quality advisories too. This, by the way, is a new type of advisory issued by Environment Canada this year. It's essentially one step above an air quality statement, which is in place for places like Saskatoon, the Wynyard-Humboldt area, up toward Prince Albert, and then kind of a level above that, we have that air quality advisory, which I've highlighted in pink here, which extends through much of the north, through portions of west central Saskatchewan, and then down through Regina and places like Assiniboia, Weyburn, and Estevan. And the reason for the difference, you can see it here on the Air Quality Health Index map. Places like Regina, Swift Current, up to Buffalo Narrows, we're at a level 10 out of 10. We've maxed out the scale in terms of air quality there, and as you heard earlier in the show, that can have significant impacts on your health. Saskatoon and Prince Albert, you were up around a level 10 a little bit earlier today. That's since dropped somewhat to around 7 out of 10, which is still high. The smoke very visible on satellite today. The green is clear air. The white that you see here is cloud cover. All the rest of this gray, which encompasses the province, is the smoke. And this is likely to stick around for a little bit longer here because just with the flow of our air and the winds, especially as we head over into tomorrow, you can see these greens and yellows and oranges still in place, even as we get into Wednesday, especially with some fires burning in the north. Advisories likely still going to be in place there. Still feeling like the mid-30s, especially in that southwest part of the province when you factor in a bit of humidity today. And that likely only going to get warmer as we head into these next couple of days here. This big ridge in the jet stream going to be spilling that heat eastward. There is, though, a breakdown in the pattern coming a little bit later in the week, and that will also mean a bit of a change in our weather as well, because we've been hot and we've been dry, save for a few sprinkles of rain over these next couple of days. But it's really going to be this next developing low pressure system in advance of that, with that cold front that's going to drop temperatures and possibly bring some substantial rainfall to northern Saskatchewan by the end of the work week, hopefully helping the forest fire situation there. But in advance of that, it's going to be a little bit breezy. Winds 40 to 50 at times tomorrow through south and central. We've got south and southeasterly flow, so that's just going to push that smoke back up northward. For Regina, what it means is probably we'll get some clearing from the smoke tomorrow afternoon, but boy, is it going to be warm. Humidex values near 40 over these next couple of days here before that break comes in the heat. For Saskatoon, that wind means it's probably going to just be all smoke for you tomorrow before you see a couple of very, very humid days. The weekend, however, Sam, actually looking a little bit pleasant. So if we can get rid of the smoke, might actually be tolerable to get outside.
Another reason to look forward to the weekend on a Monday.
Exactly.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Thousands of people gathered at the Batoche National Historic Site over the weekend in what the community says is the largest Indigenous gathering in Canada and the second largest in North America. Back to Batoche Days celebrates Métis culture, values, and languages over 4 days. The festival has been an annual event since 1970 at the National Historic Site that commemorates the Northwest Resistance. It estimates more than 50,000 people attended this year. We'll be back after the break. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has made her first public appearance since entering the race to become the Democratic Party's nominee for president. Today, Harris was filling in for U.S. President Joe Biden at a White House event, and she used the opportunity to praise her boss. Ellen Morrow has more.
All eyes on Kamala Harris, praising President Joe Biden as momentum builds for her to replace him on the Democratic ticket.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for his service to our nation.
Hundreds of Democratic lawmakers are now backing Harris's bid for the top job after Biden endorsed his vice president as he dropped out of the race.
Former prosecutor Kamala Harris is going to be the right person to hold Donald Trump accountable.
She is going to win this race, and she is going to win it with massive support.
She has fought hard for freedoms and for rights of Americans, and she is a genuine leader.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi pledged her enthusiastic support, writing, "I have full confidence that she will lead us to victory in November." The money is also pouring in, the Harris campaign raising more than $50 million in less than 24 hours.
Vice President Kamala Harris has excited the community.
Harris still has to officially win over Democratic delegates who vote in the party's nominee, but she's unlikely to face any challengers. Democrats eager to come together after weeks of party chaos.
You know, the president took the honorable path. For him, and for so many of us, it's not just the legacy, it's moving forward.
As Democrats coalesce, Republicans are already on the offensive, unveiling this attack ad against Harris just hours after Biden dropped out.
Look what she got done. A border invasion, runaway inflation, the American dream dead. They created this mess.
A preview of what's likely in the weeks to come as Harris works to shore up Democratic support and then, she hopes, make her case to the American people. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Toronto.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And possibly starting a bit hazy in Regina tomorrow. Some lingering smoke for us. Already 20 degrees by 8 o'clock. Going to be a warm night once again. The smoke should be out of here mostly by the noon hour, though. But keep in mind that humidex value by the noon hour over 30. A little bit breezy. Winds from the southeast. So that's pushing the smoke out of here and right up into Saskatoon, where you'll also be sitting at 20 degrees by 8 o'clock. And those southeasterly winds just going to keep blowing, likely keeping the smoke around for the afternoon and probably feeling again a little bit closer to 30. Smoke-free view from Lisa's place out in Balcarres. Gorgeous shot from the other night there, and some gorgeous standing water as well. Probably a sight like this coming back hopefully tomorrow once that smoke moves out, Sam.
Give me all the water.
Yeah, we need it.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.